ready to be out of work. Now have a
Testing, testing, testing.
Microphone check. Microphone checker.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Hello? Yeah. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Breaker 19. This is BJ and the Bear. You guys old enough to know who BJ and the Bear are? You're not old enough, are you?
That's what you
Or Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
LJ?
Steve, they don't even know what breaker was.
I know.
You're showing your age now.
Oh, the CB is, exactly.
That's so funny. I remember we would take rides, and you go at night, so the kids would be asleep. My daddy had a CB.
Oh, yeah.
They loved to talk on the CB. It's like,
Smoker and the Bandit.
can someone call Sam and just...
He's right there.
Oh, there he is.
Right on time. Hello, Mr. Davis. How are you? How are you, friend? Check your microphone. Your microphone check.
You have a cheat sheet? It's on the way. Cheat sheet's on the way.
No cheat sheet. Hey, Mattel.
Huh? You got to send us the questions or the answers?
I'm chewing. Need some nourishment.
What's up, brother?
Okay. You can't get us all. Oh, Steve and Sam, look
I'm
at
sorry. That's it.
Sophie.
Yeah. I mean, mother.
You got there.
That's theirs. I borrowed theirs. I actually had one that someone took. The staff says that none of them took it. So somebody took mine.
Does that one look familiar?
No, actually mine
How
was.
are you? Good to see you, sir.
Smiling. Always thankful. You go well yesterday? Did it go well yesterday? Did it go well?
We worked tirelessly, and one of
No, with your dad. I said, did it go well? Okay.
broadcasts you probably remember I did live from our retreat. We spent 4 sessions last year, over the year of 2016, going over what we want as our goals and what do we see as a vision for the city of Columbia. And it's not just our vision as city council and mayor, it is the entire city's vision based on input that we get from our citizens. And so what we're hoping to do is be able to answer your questions that you may have regarding our city's vision. So if you have any questions, I know you're watching here on Facebook Live, but you can also go watch the city's Facebook page and Twitter. And tell me again, Tiffany, they can ask questions by going there. So if you used to Envision Power Hour Columbia. You can ask any question. And then they're going to be moderating the questions that come in. But if you do have questions and you're here,
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
and as soon as we get a break, I'll make sure that they know that you got a question. So, looks like we're going to start soon. We're ready to count down to go live. And we're counting down, so here we go.
I did.
Yes.
We did. Yeah,
So,
testing.
but, okay, so I got to hit it one. It just says question one. Was that it?
Let's just. That's Veronica. Yeah. Hey, welcome everyone to our social media town hall with a quorum of City Council, myself and Mayor Pro Tem Devine, Councilman Davis, and Councilman Duval to talk about City Council's new vision statement. I want to thank everyone for tuning in on social media, and happy to field any and all questions that you might have about the vision statement and where we hope to be in 2036. And I say we in a very broad sense, that this is something that's reflective not just of this council's ideas, but it's reflective of our constant conversations that we have with the men and women who make the city and region work every single day. So as we look forward to 2036, not next year or 5 years, but 20 years down the road, we want to make sure we build as inclusive a team as possible to make sure that we're living up to our full potential.
Okay, and can you guys hear me? Okay. We'll go ahead and get the town hall started with, we have a question from Veronica Walker. She wants to know, how will the 5 goals help support the 7 different focus areas? And I'll just open that up to anyone who wants to answer.
I can start, and just so, just in case anybody hasn't seen our vision statement, we do have copies. And so I think what Ms. Walker is talking about, the way our vision statement is set up, we've got a preamble, and then we have what our vision statement is, which includes 7 different priorities. And then under those 7 priorities, there are 5 goals that support those priorities. And so with her question on how will the 5 goals support our priorities, the 5 goals are things that specifically we want to do in the next year or two to actually help us get to our priorities. And so goal 1 is grow opportunities for entrepreneurship, business development, and a skilled workforce to achieve a healthy economy. Goal 2 is connect the city's neighborhoods and business districts through cohesive land use, infrastructure development, and transportation planning. Goal 3 is foster a healthy quality of life focusing on safety, culture, and recreation. Goal 4, collaborate and partner with entities within the Midlands region to become the state's prime destination for residents, visitors, and businesses. And Goal 5, provide high-quality municipal services efficiently, effectively, and responsibly. And so these are our 5 goals, and these all align with our priorities. And as we work over the next couple years to really achieve our goals and priorities, you'll see how these all connect with the things that we do every day, with ordinances that we pass and money that we spend.
Did anyone else want to answer?
Determine whether or not we're on task. Is it to, for example, come by, participate in the budget hearings, and see how we're approaching our spending objectives? Also, as always, we encourage you to come into this building, into this hall, and observe the process and the items that we make decisions on bi-weekly, at least monthly, and you'll get a good idea as to whether or not we're sticking to the plan.
I think it might be helpful if we told our audience how this vision statement came to be, after 2 retreats of the City Council, one in January, one in October. October. We spent about 4 days total with the council developing these goals. I have, in my career, been involved with a lot of strategic planning and visioning, and this was probably one of the most productive sessions I've ever participated in. The council really gelled. Our vision was very similar. I was very pleased that we had a very similar view of where we needed to be in the next 30 years. And I was very pleased that we were able to use our word craftsmanship to develop goals and areas that fit the vision for the City of Columbia for the next 30 years.
Amen.
Okay, so we have another question coming from Kenny G 420. He wants to know, how are we, as in Columbia, going to attract top talent? And Mayor, do you want to answer that one?
Sure. I mean, obviously, attracting and retaining talent is first on this list, not because it's only in alphabetical order, but we recognize that the cities and metropolitan economies all across the world are seeing significant growth, and those that really have their act together are those that are focusing on attracting and retaining the very best talent that the world has to offer. Nowadays, we're not just competing against Charleston or Greenville, we're competing against Richmond and Atlanta and Juarez, Mexico, and cities in India to bring the very best and brightest, because you can actually telecommute to work halfway across the world if in fact you want to. And when we engage with business leaders who are looking to make investments for their companies for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the number one question they always have is, what is your talent pipeline? Can you help me build my company, create shareholder value for a generation here? And we have to be able to affirmatively answer that question. Yes, we do that by appealing to the very important things that every young person is looking for. And I say young persons because we're usually talking about millennials, but the reality is that talent comes in all shapes and sizes. We're talking about retired educators. We're talking about retired military individuals. We're talking about empty nesters that still have a whole lot of fuel left in their tank and want to contribute something to their community. But by making the very strategic investments that we are in building a great city, in investing in leading the way in high quality municipal services, investing in good, strong infrastructure, investing in arts and quality of life measures like greenways throughout the city. By doing that, you create an environment that makes people want to live in your city. Makes an exciting place to live, an exciting place to work and play and worship and grow your family. And we feel that we're on a path to get there, to become that great, talented, educated, and entrepreneurial city that we all want to be. But we've got to continue to remain focused intently on attracting and retaining all types of talent from across the spectrum.
Okay, so now we have a question from Joan Clayton. She wants to know what exactly is going to be done differently with this new vision statement.
Sure.
And I'll open that one up to anyone who wants to answer.
Sure.
Well, one of the things that I think Councilman Davis mentioned a minute ago, now we have a matrix that we can grade ourselves. We have agreed that this is our vision, and we have specific goals that we want to implement in the next 2-year cycle. And as we develop budgets, as we make decisions on policy for the City of Columbia, we need to make sure that they fit into one of the 5 goals that we have, and that they are building the base to build the City of Columbia's vision that we have for them in 2036.
And if I could add, I would just say, similar to what Howard said, but specifically, what you'll start seeing is as we do things, especially on our agendas, most times people will see our agenda and they don't necessarily know how contracts that we're awarding or ordinance that we're passing or the budget and how we're spending money, how that fits within a bigger system. And so now you'll see how those align with our goals. And so in order to get to that great city, the greater city that we want to see in 2036, we have to be doing things now in 2017, 18, 19 that actually get us there. And so you'll see, as we're spending your taxpayer dollars, as we're enacting ordinances, as we're letting contracts, you'll see how that clearly aligns with these goals. And so that is something that's been different. We've done that in the past, but it hasn't really been clearly communicated to our constituency on how those things support our goals. And so you'll see that in a more clear and concise way.
And I'd add to that, consistent with what everyone else has also said, we also have a number of different partner organizations and individuals, just like you listening here today, whose active participation and leadership will be required to make this vision a reality. So this is an opportunity to put all of our priorities on the table and for everyone to work together to make this happen. Groups like Ingenuity, I see some of our business groups, our neighborhood groups. Our goal is to go around and spread the word, spread the gospel as aggressively as we can, and for each of us as citizens to find ways to make this a reality. It's like almost having 10 different great ideas implemented by 10 different people or groups and just going in 10 different directions at the same time. The goal with this vision statement is to get all 10 of us going in the same direction at the same time to have maximum impact. And we're seeing that type of coalescing happening right now.
Just to add one thing, we know that this becomes this is our guide, but in addition to I think some of the communications and the conversations we have when we go out into the community, if there are questions about maybe certain projects, certain activities that the city might be involved in or maybe sponsoring, we can always refer back to the goals in our plan, but also as part of that communication and the give and take, it also will signal to the taxpayers and the citizens and the people who visit our city that we're flexible. There are times when we may tweak what we're doing, or we may, as a result of interaction, maybe add to it or make some changes. But there's always a reason, and I think that's what the citizens will expect from us, and that and if they are kind of keeping this close by, then they can pretty much have an understanding of where we're going and why we may maybe slow down in some areas, or we may make some adjustments, or we may even tweak budget items, but it's for a specific purpose.
Okay.
Tiffany.
Okay, our next question comes from the Skin INSC. She wants to know, how will the vision statement affect Columbia's low-income and urban communities?
If I can jump in on this, and I know everybody might have something to say, but I'll tell you, of course, everybody knows this is one of the areas I'm very passionate about. And one of our priorities, one of our focus areas is empowering our residents. And so when we drafted that one, it was very clear that what we want to do is empower our residents to succeed, whether it mean economically, physically, mentally. We want to make sure that we have a quality of life in our city that addresses all those needs. And so at the city, we've done a lot with home ownership and financial literacy, healthy lifestyles as well, but we're pulling those things together and making sure that we have a lot of resources where our citizens can have access. And so when you talk about some of our low income and urban communities, you will see a focus on bringing jobs to areas, bringing job training programs to areas, working on housing and making sure that we have quality, affordable housing, whether it's home ownership or rental, within communities so that people have access to that. You will also see us expand our financial education programs so that we're working with people. We've already started our Bank On program where we're connecting people who may not have bank accounts with banking relationships, but we're going to be taking that further and making sure that people not only have financial education, but then they know how to implement that education to really move up the economic ladder. And so you will see a lot of focus, although we've had a lot of programs, you'll see a real focus efforts on making sure we're pulling all of those resources together and that those resources are communicated to our citizens so that people know how to access them and really help them succeed in this global economy.
Let me add, I totally agree. And one of the things that I'm sure that is a reason for this question, a lot of some of the things that we're trying to address has a lot to do sometimes with perceptions. And the term low income, for example, it's all about, I think, making sure that as this city progresses and as visual as our constituents are, there are some things that they would expect to see as they move throughout the city in terms of how we address some of the visual imperfections in some neighborhoods. Neighborhoods is one of the key areas of our mission statement. So again, as we go about enhancing the quality of life, it also has to do with where people recreate, whether or not they feel safe. We have I think, an outstanding police department that's constantly trying to stay on the cutting edge of communication and interacting with the people they protect. People select where they live based on their ability to recreate, other amenities that they sometimes may have to leave their neighborhood to enjoy. So economic development overall, I think, is part of the foundation that these goals are going to stand on.
Sure. I'd submit that as you look at the focus areas in the business and the vision statement, that obviously some of these apply to all parts of the city, and I believe that others actually apply even more importantly to some very specific parts of the city, the urban core of the city, creating a world in which we all have a chance to live up to our God-given potential, endless possibilities, economic prosperity. We speak very specifically to making sure that every citizen has a chance to do the great things that God has in store for them, empowering our residents, making sure that our neighborhoods, our city is nothing but a collection of really great neighborhoods, and making sure our neighborhoods, every single neighborhood, has that seamless transition that Mr. Davis always talks about, that you can leave one neighborhood or one district into another and not be able to tell the difference. We're making, as Ms. Devine mentioned, have been making significant investments in our parks and recreation infrastructure and streetscape and beautification, and making sure that this city is already the 21st century city that we want to be. But we realize that we will never make this vision a reality if we don't focus intently on some of our neighborhoods that may see the greatest challenges right now. Because I will tell you right now, as you look around the country and look around the world, the places that right now seem like the greatest challenges are also the places with the greatest opportunity. And our job is to make sure that that opportunity extends to everyone who lives there now, everyone who might want to make that their home, but certainly to the people who've been working and playing and worshiping there for the last several decades, regardless of who they are and whose they are or what zip code they belong in.
Mayor, I would like to add to that. The one that I like best is just high-quality municipal services. And if we give high-quality municipal services to every neighborhood, as the mayor and Sam have said, then we will be taking care of the low-income neighborhoods, the urban neighborhoods, the downtown neighborhoods, and everybody. Our job is to provide basic municipal services first and foremost to everybody in this city. And that will raise the boats for everybody, float the boats.
Let me add one thing that Mr. Vine touched on. I just want to expand on it. There are partnerships that we're also involved in. I think a number of things that also help to enhance the quality of life are the result of partnerships of other organizations, some neighborhoods, some of our other governmental partners. And I think the more we play a role in that also would help. And it's not always spending of the dollars either. It's how those relationships and the partnerships are, how they mesh, and how we can agree on certain goals, because one impacts the other. You know, we don't provide all education, but again, our partnership with the schools, our partnerships with some of the nonprofits play a great role in enhancing the way people feel about where they live, how they feel about the services that we don't provide, but we play a key role in making sure that they do get those services.
Awesome.
Tallulah Shields wants to know, what does the vision statement mean for her 3 children? How will they be affected? And Ms. Devine, if you want to answer that one.
I want to jump in on everyone. Well, what I would say is, the thing about Columbia is it is an extremely diverse, vibrant city. And one of the things that we've been doing is making sure that we plan for people of all ages. And so as a mother of young children, what I would say is that, I want a city that my children grow up in and they have every single opportunity to do anything that they want to do, and that they can fully avail themselves of everything that this city has to offer. And that it's something that no matter where they are in this city, that they can go and compete on a global level. And so what this will mean for your 3 children, Michelle's, is that they will grow up in a city that appreciates diversity, who invests in its citizens, provides high-quality municipal services, as Mr. Duvall has said, and that as they grow up, they will be able to compete with anybody anywhere in this world, because they will have high-quality education, they will grow up in great neighborhoods, but they also will know that their city appreciates and invests in them. And so, and then it'll be a place that they want to come back, and then they want to raise their kids here too. So I really feel comfortable that this will be something in our vision. When we talk about our vision, we were talking about what we want our city to look like in 2036. So at that time, your children will be adults, and so they'll be the leaders here, and they'll know that the leaders in 2017 put the infrastructure in place to allow them to continue to thrive and grow.
The three children will be the judges as to whether or not we accomplish our goal. We are putting these goals in place and this vision in place to give those 3 children the opportunities that Tamika has outlined.
I will say this: we have 7 different members of this council, and on any different issue, we may often agree, but so often we disagree. I'll tell you, also have 7 different parents on this council. And I see in the thought processes and the deliberations of all the members of this council a constant reminder that your children are also our children, that we're not just setting policies for our kids to have to abide by and be held to account for, and hopefully to help them grow up and do some awesome things, but we also care about your children, and we see your children as our children. So it's important to note that embodied in this document are principles that we've been able to come to and surround together. And there are very few things that we've endorsed unanimously. We've done this unanimously because we believe that your children have incredible gifts, that every child has at least one gift that God's given them. And we believe that working on a bold, grand vision for this community and putting a plan in place will help us and help your 3 babies do some awesome things.
Okay. Okay, our next question comes from Apollo. He wants to know, when will the vision statement go into full effect?
Right now, we've adopted it. We've adopted it in this social media town hall, in addition to a number of actual physical meetings that we're having with people. We've learned now, and of course in the 21st century, that people engage in much different ways. Some people read snail mail, some people never read snail mail. Some people only read emails, some people only get their news and information from social media. Some prefer this format, and we're meeting with Rotary clubs and neighborhood groups, and if two or more are gathered, we want to share this information, because the vision only becomes real and takes on a life of its own when we truly have as much citizen input as to make these things come alive. So it's been adopted by this council, and it's in place right now, and we're looking forward to 2036.
The question was, why do we have
Why do we have 7 focus areas?
Why do we have 7 focus areas? Because when we went through the visioning process, we put all of these things up on the board in little strips of paper, and then we tried to pair the visions into groups that were logically grouped, and it ended up that we had 7 groups. It was not a design number. It was just the way that all of the things that we wanted for the city of Columbia and envisioned for the city of Columbia for 2036 could be put into these 7 categories.
And I would just say, because I think a couple people have asked me, because there's 7 of us, is that why we have 7 focus areas, especially since we've all kind of adopted one to be the ambassador for. And as the mayor said earlier, this was unanimously and collectively devised by council and unanimously endorsed by council. So it's a coincidence that there's 7 focus areas and there's 7 of us. But each of us support wholeheartedly each one. And as Howard said, it really was after a very long process of saying everything that we want to see in the city based on feedback we get from you all as our citizens, and then we pulled that together and made it more concise, and it just so happened to be 7 focus areas.
Okay, our next question comes from Sam Johnson. He wants to know, how can we as citizens best help move the city forward?
I'd encourage people to retweet and post and share with your church members and family members this document, so people can digest it and begin to understand it, and then see how they fit in. We have a number of different ways to participate in moving the city forward, between boards and commissions and ad hoc groups to address very specific issues and areas. There are so many opportunities to get involved, and they don't have to be all have to be through city government. They could be through county government or the various nonprofits or neighborhood associations that make the city work the way that it does. But I think probably the best way is to continue to just spread the word and share this document with as many people as you possibly can. You can do it right now just by retweeting or posting it on Facebook or Snapchatting or hosting your own live social media town hall, just sharing this information, live streaming, as Ms. Devine is doing right now. Sharing the information is probably we're still in that phase right now where we're trying to build a broad consensus community-wide around the focus areas that we have here. So continue to share the information, and then determining where in here or what several places you fit in at and where you think you can help make this vision a reality.
I would just add, continue to engage with us. I mean, you know, you've got a mayor and council who are very accessible to you. And, you know, that means reaching out to us, saying, you know, what you want to be involved in, what do you see, what do you like, what you don't like, and how you might be part of making things better. And so, you know, we all encourage you to contact us, you know, call us, email us, you know, social media or whatever. All of us kind of communicate in different ways, so you got to know how we communicate. But I encourage you to continue to engage with us, because your city leadership wants to hear from you. We want you to be a part of this. That's why this is not our vision statement. This is the city's vision statement. And we want to work together, and how we do that is to continue the dialogue.
Kenny G. 420 wants to know, will this vision statement affect any ongoing city projects?
I dare say, and I'll let everyone answer who wants to. The goal is for it to affect every city project that we're doing. I mean, so we're going to have to continuously revisit the vision statement, making sure it's inculcated in everything that we do. How are the daily actions we take, the biweekly votes that we take, working to make this vision a reality. And if something that comes before us, which could still be very important or is inconsistent with where we tell ourselves that we're supposed to be going as a city in the long term, then we're going to have to seriously rethink it. So I'd say yes, it not only affects what we're going to do prospectively, but it affects everything that we're doing now as well, and should.
Chris Wallace Way BK says, thanks for supporting the arts via the Hip Hop Family Day. Are there any plans for more programs?
Well, Chris Wallace, of course, that's not his real name, because obviously, no, it's not. It's not. A great shout out to the notorious B.I.G. Obviously, you know, we've been blessed here in this city. Ms. Devine spoke briefly about our diversity here. We speak 90 different languages in the city of Columbia. We're from 200 different countries, people from all around the world, every shape, size, color, creed, religion. It's one of our strengths, and I think that recognizing the strong history of pop culture and African American culture, from jazz to blues and R&B and all the way up to hip hop, is one of the things that we've done really well. And supporting this council, supporting Hip Hop Family Day, we've watched that event grow year after year, and something I'm personally proud of. As long as we're bringing that brand of family-oriented activity to Main Street, then I look forward to continuing to support it and hopefully seeing it blossom into something that much more special.
Mayor, one of the things that I've enjoyed learning more about my city in the last year since I've been sitting on this council is how involved the city is in the diversity of the arts community. The city is heavily invested in everything from hip-hop to the Columbia Museum of Art to the jazz concerts that they put on to first day, what you call that celebration?
First Thursday.
All of those things add to what we have repeated all along this panel today is the vibrancy of the city. And it is that diversity that adds to the vibrancy.
And it goes back to that very first question. I'm sorry, Mr. Davis. It goes back to that very first question. The cultural and the arts infrastructure that lives here in Columbia. We have some very significant components, from a world-class art museum to literally supporting up-and-coming buskers on the streets of Columbia. I think puts us in an enviable position even to some of our stronger regional competitors like Charlotte and Charleston. That type of arts infrastructure serves as a magnet to bringing and keeping the types of talent that we want to see represented across the landscape here in Columbia. So back to the question about 7 different focus areas, I think you can easily take an arrow and connect them very easily. They're all interconnected. We're all tied up in this inextricable tapestry, and you'll see some great connectivity. But it just turned out pretty cool. We had 7 different areas and 7 men and women that helped promote them, so it worked out well.
Hip-hop has, I think, earned its place on the stage. You know, I'm a musician also. I've played music since 3rd grade. Yes. And, you know, I attend the festivals. My son, we kind of get lost in the crowd, just sort of blend in. And it's an example, again, as everybody is saying, of the city's commitment to an appreciation and making available all aspects of the arts to the people who live here, the people who visit, and people do come for that very reason. So I don't see it diminishing at all. I think our commitment to the hospitality dollars, as an example, to make sure that we can, we can distribute that as best we can, given what comes in, and trying to make sure that it's distributed as evenly as possible across the board. And also, you understand that the hip hop performers are people who have many talents, and they share those talents, not just with the adults, but through the school systems, young people, and people go on from there into other aspects of that particular genre.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I was talking to a friend recently about the Ingenuity report ranking the city of Columbia so high in livability compared to a lot of our peer cities, and he said that, and this might be an alternative fact, but we'll throw it out on social media. He said that the city of Columbia had more live art presentations than any city in South Carolina. And you probably could spread that to some of our neighboring states too, but we do have an amazing amount of live events here, art events here in the city.
Absolutely.
You know, there was a time when folks would say, "What are you going to do on Friday and Saturday?"
Drive to Charlotte.
And people would say, "We're going to Charlotte or wherever because there's nothing happening in Columbia." Compare that with today. There's always something going on in any part of this city, and then there are still people coming to Columbia. So I agree with Howard. That is fact. You don't hear that anymore. That there's nothing to do in Columbia on weekends.
Okay. Our next question comes from Sam Johnson. He wants to know, with the third of our tax base not on the rolls, what is your collective vision to grow the city of Columbia? It's open to anyone.
Would you say it again, too?
Read.
With the third of our tax base not on the rolls, what is your collective vision to grow the city of Columbia?
Sure. Well, first of all, tell him he's reached his quota on questions, okay? And second of all, it's 2/3 of a tax base. So, you know, so we're a unique place, and being the state capital and the home of the state's largest research and only Carnegie University, home to Fort Jackson, the Army's largest initial entry base in the world. That while those properties and others may not be on the tax rolls, they are great economic engines that help fuel, we believe, all this great talent and creativity that we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes or so. Our goal is to work in partnership with people throughout this community, in partnership with the business community, in a way that meets the needs of our citizens in a fair and reasonable manner, to try and incentivize as much growth as we possibly can, as long as it's smart growth that focuses on a good, strong urban core surrounded by some incredible neighborhoods with commercial arteries that reflect the vibrancy of the neighborhoods that they pass through, and being good partners, recognizing that that the issues that affect the people of the city of Columbia don't stop at the borders of the city. So that means we have to be wonderful partners with Richland County and also with Lexington County. But we got to be a place where capital feels welcome, and when it hits the ground and feels welcome here, it will grow. If we do that, then we'll watch our tax base grow. That means we'll have more money for all the basic services that any good city, any great city should provide, and police and fire protection, and our water sewer infrastructure, our solid waste services, all the things that we take for granted until we don't have them anymore. And then obviously reaching and stretching that much farther, we're not just talking about being the city that my father, or your grandfather, or grandmother grew up in, but really being a leading city and an innovative city, and finding the best way to deliver the most efficient and effective services that you should deserve in a 21st century economy.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add, one of the things that, you know, we are in a very unique position, which also causes us to be creative in the things that we do to grow our tax base and to grow our city, to make sure that we have the infrastructure necessary to support all the things that we need to do. And so what I would just encourage citizens is to also really listen and ask questions when you hear things about what we're talking about and what we're contemplating, and how it will help grow our city. I mean, our city has been very blessed in the past. We have a very successful tax increment financing district that grew the Vista, but with the growth of the Vista, helped grow the tax base of the entire city. So the entire city benefited from that. In the past, the city has come up with creative ways to help promote student housing and do partner with the housing authority to support affordable housing. And so there are some things that sometimes we will do that seem a little bit out of the norm, but we will research it and make sure that it's appropriate for us to be doing. But I will say that sometimes, we can't do business as usual. We have to be creative, and we have to look at what other cities and towns throughout this country are doing to help build their tax base. And because we have so much off the tax rolls, sometimes people are questioning, well, why are you doing this? Why don't you just look at property taxes? But property taxes, a lot of people do not pay property taxes in the city of Columbia. And if we use property taxes to do everything that we do, then it is an unfair burden on those people who are paying taxes.
Absolutely.
Our next question comes from Erica Moore. How are city employees engaged in this process? And that's Mr. Davis.
Let me hear the question again.
This comes from Erica Moore. She wants to know, how are city employees engaged in the process?
How are they? I'll kick it off. I think everybody can attest to the fact that we got to this point because staff not only supported our getting away from here to really concentrate, but the information that we relied on in order to set these goals came from staff. Staff did the research. Staff have presented to us also their experiences moving around the city, looking at the infrastructure, keeping an eye on the budget, the dollars, how we're spending them, the projections, you name it, and staff have played a key role in this document. And as a result of that, really, they have helped us to lay out the path to reaching these goals.
Also, Mayor, I'd like to add to that the senior staff actually sat at the table when we were doing the visioning process. The city manager and her top staff members were there and participated and added to the list of things that were finally made into these 7 items that we're looking at here. And beyond that, once we had wordsmithed for the 2 retreats, they took the product that we had developed and with the help of our communication staff and others, polished it up to the document that's being released over the next few weeks.
Tallulah Shields has another question. She wants to know how this will affect college students.
Well, Columbia is blessed with not only having the University of South Carolina, but we're one of the few cities in the entire country that has 2 fantastic historical black colleges and universities in our downtown. Columbia College, CIU, the Lutheran Theological Seminary, a fantastic technical college infrastructure that helps make us competitive in all things that we do. If we're going to be a great city, if we're going to be a competitive city in the 21st century, then we're going to have to continue to not just attract young men and women from all across the world to these institutions, but we're also going to have to retain them and making sure that we create as many opportunities as we can to fully integrate young people who come to our colleges and universities into all things that we do, from policy making to delivery of services that'll make us better. And I'll take it one step further. Working as we do, and we're looking at some additional partnerships right now, working hand in hand with our colleges and universities gives us a unique chance, an incredible opportunity to really enhance the services that we deliver to our community. If it's a college of education at Columbia College, or the wonderful service learning program, world-renowned at Benedict College, or working with the USC School of Public Health and helping us address some of the incredible challenges we may face in public health and healthcare in this community. when we really begin to commercialize everything from intellectual property to actually just utilizing the incredible expertise on our campuses. And we've had some flashes of wonderful relationships and brilliance there, but we can do so much more. So the students and young people, but also the incredible faculty and staff and the research on the campuses throughout this region are going to play a huge role in making this vision a reality.
I think one of the things that sort of served as an eye-opener, I'll take last night, for example. I took a young family member of mine, my grandson, to the Talented 10th reception last night. And he was impressed, not only because of the location, but the fact that he had an opportunity to interact and engage in conversations with people who have just left college, the young leadership of the future. That was an inspiration for him, because I'd been trying to get him to think about staying. If you have to leave, you got to come back, bring your talents back to the city. And he had an opportunity to interact with people who love this city, who love their jobs, young entrepreneurs, even those that are contributing to the companies that they work for. I think that's the best example of what our commitment is, to retain and attract people of talent so that they can contribute to the quality of life and the future of our capital city.
So at this moment, we're just going to conclude the social media town hall for today. And we want to end it by letting each one of you give your closing remarks. And we'll start with you, Councilman Duval.
Well, this is the beginning. This is sort of the rollout of our new envisioning process for the city of Columbia. I am excited to be at the front end of the vision for 2036. I'm hoping that I will be here in 2036 to make sure that we have executed it properly.
Hopefully we all will be. Ms. Devine?
I would just say that this is a really exciting time for our city. I mean, I think that lots of folks have seen the growth of our city over the last few years, but in order for us to continue to grow and grow appropriately, we have to have a real strategic plan and a focused vision. This is a vision that gets us on that path. And so, and the fact that it was collective makes sure that everyone within the city is included in this. But this is not the end product. This is the beginning. And so I encourage citizens to continue to engage with us, give us your input, let us know what you think, and how you can be involved and how you can be a part of it. But I'm really excited to see where we're going, and I just hope that you all continue to go there with us.
I think this is one of the best strategic foundation that the city has put in place. I'm like Howard. I've sat through a lot of strategic planning processes, and I'll tell you, sometimes you just can't wait to get out of the room because it's, you know. But this has really turned into a document that I view, and I'm sure that the public, people who live here, people who will visit, this becomes a report card on us. And I'm certain that of all these goals, and given the feedback that we've received and the ones that we're still getting when we visit throughout the city, some of the specifics in here will end up in our citizens on their bucket list, for sure. It may not be all of them, but there's something in here for everybody, and there is something in here that everybody has an interest in. So I'm looking forward to the feedback, and I'm very cognizant of the fact that as we move around and as we go about our due diligence on behalf of them, they're going to give us a feedback, and I welcome that.
I just want to thank this council, all of our we're partners in making this vision statement, creating the statement, and also we'll be responsible for making it reality. I want to thank our staff for pulling together the social media town hall. Obviously, we're a council, but it's going to take the 2,000 plus employees of the city to make sure that we live up to our responsibilities to make this happen. It's going to require constant engagement just like this from our citizens. We want to thank everyone for tuning in today. We want you to share this document broadly, to digest it and ingest it, and let's figure out a way that each and every one of us in our own capacity can work to make this vision for our city a reality. But thank everyone so much for tuning in. This is only the beginning. We have a whole lot more to do together. God bless you.
And again, we want to thank everyone for participating in the city's first social media town hall. If you are watching with us via our website, we do encourage you to follow us on Twitter at City of Columbia, on Facebook at Facebook.com/City of Columbia, Instagram, We Are Columbia, and our Snap code is our profile picture on Twitter. We also want you to get City Social. So if you are already a part of our social media platforms, we encourage you to hashtag, the Our Vision Your Voice hashtag, and the See the Vision hashtag, and just get conversational. We want to hear your thoughts and opinions and any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
And that is it. Thank you for tuning in.